So hey, I'm Bill Gross. I'm with XP in Los Angeles, California, and I have become the chair of the National Probate Group. So our topic today is probate is of the 11 ways to sell probate real estate. Number 2 is probate leads marketing to the petitioner. This scenario is generally you're going to buy the data from somebody, though you could possibly go to court on your own and find it. Look up who the petitioner is, whether it be an executor or administrator, and contacting them to do business with them. So number 1, buying leads. Where do you get the leads from? It varies. Some counties are very easy to get. It's online. You download it. Some counties have some of the information online. Other counties, there are vendors who go to court, pull the data, and resell it. On my website, the LAProbateexpert.com, I have a probate data source list of the sources I'm familiar with and my review of them. So what are the activities? Well, I would say that like any other real estate, it's calling, mailing, call, mail, call. I think mailing is effective in this particular niche because you know who the person is you're trying to mail to. One of the challenges of direct mail today, one of the opportunities is there's less mail, less competition. One of the opportunities here is you know who the target is. You know who filed a petition for the probate. You know their address. It's usually in the court filing. So you're actually mailing to a person that can affect that transaction. I would mail as I call them and I know that it's a good deal. They're a good person. They're alive. They're whatever. Because that will lower your costs. If you can weed out 10, 20% of your data as being bad, you'll save your mailing costs. So as realtors, we will look for the 30-day deal, the 6-month deal. That's great, and there's some there. But we need to play the long game. And probate is a longer game because you add the legal process on top of the normal real estate process, and it just adds more time to it. So you have to have a process. So if you're going to mail, think about how you're going to mail to them, or are you over a 6-month period or a 2-year period? And I like postcards rather than letters because they're cheaper. And I also think that you need to have a system in place to stay in touch with them for a period of time, but you have to then weed out the bad data so you're not spending money on people who aren't interested. Mail wide first and then narrow down. You know, I think that in the beginning you want to maybe mail, you want to call, then mail, and then try to find people. We'll say, oh yeah, I recognize you. But then at some point you need to be mailing to people you're talking to and not mailing to the others, because every month there's new probates, you're adding to your list. And again, I would urge you, and this is not something you're going to hear from the data source companies, but something I'll tell you, my experience is the average lead is about 2 years. And so you need to have a marketing strategy that's going to hang that long, or you're giving up before the miracle happens. Okay, door knocking, obviously problematic with COVID, but what I would say is for realtors so inclined to door knock, probates make a great addition to door knocking like expireds, but the strategy is similar. You can't just go from probate to probate to probate because there's not enough of them. You spend too much time driving, you'll make enough contacts per hour. So you want to door knock the probate and then hit 10 doors around it. And you'll find that way 3 doors down, they know who the brother is who's controlling things. They've seen the daughter come by. They may own that house. It was mom and dad's house, and they live 3 doors down. And so door knocking definitely has some synergistic effects in probate. Again, COVID, with its obvious restrictions, changes that for now, but that's going to change over time. Also, I would say working with investors and wholesalers. As a real estate agent, I regularly host a weekly Zoom call for investors, wholesalers, in general in real estate investment. I invite them to my probate call because they're out looking for deals and they find title problems. I help them unwind. I think like everything else, track your numbers. Anything worth doing is worth doing well. The only way to know that is if you're tracking your numbers and seeing what's costing you and what your work looks like. And in terms of strategies, again, I think you have to come from being of service. Really important in probate. You don't need to worry about that they're still in mourning. They filled out the forms to file a probate, legally filed the form and mailed it off. You have to be sensitive in the course of discussion, but I don't think you need to avoid them. You don't need to imagine they're sitting in home on their floor in ashes in black clothes. I think these are people who are have come to a point where they're willing to deal with the business reality. They have taxes coming due on the property. They have mortgages in many cases due on the property. There's other money due on the property. Maybe they're worried about squatters, parts of the country. It's a good time to sell now. It might not be in the wintertime. So again, come from being a service, not focusing on getting a contract. And then you want to weed out the losers to lower your cost, and then you can increase your mailing. Again, I think it's important that you make your phone calls and just make an assessment. Some people you can just tell that they're just difficult to work with. They don't want to work with a realtor, or they don't want to work with you. I'm not saying give up on them. I'm just saying not to spend the money there. Put the money on the people that you talk to, that you feel a connection to, that maybe are connected to attorneys that you're working with even more so. Use your mailing list as a strategic decision who you're mailing to and who you're not. Multiple contacts, you're building a relationship. It's not just a cold call. The goal is, the first call is to begin a relationship. And that way you have a mail, a phone call, maybe email, maybe social media, if you get them added into that, add that strategy into it. So you're attacking them from multiple ways, and you're building a relationship with them. And hopefully you're building yourself as a resource to people like that. Don't take no for an answer. No is just not for now. But doesn't mean, they'll say, oh, we're going to handle it ourselves. And that sounds great until they realize how much work's involved. Everybody has an agent. Everybody knows an agent. Everybody talks to agents. Don't let that get you off track. If you position yourself as a probate expert, they're more inclined to circle back to you because you've created value for them. If you're just another agent, why should they call back to you? They know one. But if you are the only probate expert they talk to. And so we don't get expertise by taking one class. We get expertise by committing ourselves to becoming experts and working on it on a regular basis. And then either work with or co-op their attorney or their service, meaning if they have an attorney, your goal is either to work with them, and then the attorney is really the relationship you're working on, or pull them away from the attorney and get them to your attorney or your service, one way or the other. And everyone can make that conscious decision. Remember the hierarchy of contacts is no different in probate than other real estate. Mail, text, email, phone, meeting. The goal of mail is to get involved with them maybe on a text. Email maybe a little more business-oriented or personal. Then a phone call discussion. The purpose of the phone is to generate a meeting. So our goal of our marketing is to move us towards meetings and seeing people. And I would say that's why it's so important to see the property. There's nothing that's going to get somebody to accept your expertise than the fact that you've seen the property already. And I tell people, yeah, I go look at every probate property in our market. That's my business. I specialize in probate. Keep notes and use them as a weapon. This is no different than any other real estate sales. But I think because probate's longer, how many errors they have, who the attorney is, they have multiple properties, they have out-of-state properties. Keep your notes and use those notes as your weapon to get business from people.